Welcome to Dorking Out. My name is Sonia Mansfield, and you can always take off the skirt and use it as a cape. So I think this is the best costume for today. Joining me is my podcasting sister from another mister and the co-host of Dorking Out, Margo D. Hello, friend.
Course, I'm mad about animals, but raccoons and cats become a little bit boring. I mean, for a long time.
You do a really good impression. I knew you would. I do not. I do not do a good impression. All my impressions turn into like, "Hey, I'm in Great Gardens. My name is Little Edie." That's all my impressions. They all sound like that. We are talking about 1975's Great Gardens. It's directed by Albert and David Maisel. It's a cult classic. It's a documentary. Margo picked this one. She's got a lot of thoughts and feelings about it, and I just can't wait to get into it. So we should just get into it. Margo, please describe your relationship with Great Gardens.
So it was like must have been over 15 years ago, but one of my best friends is my next door neighbor, Erin, and she's from Spring Lake, New Jersey, and she invited a bunch of friends to go down to Spring Lake to spend a weekend, a hot July weekend like we're having right now. And one of her friends just put this movie on and said, "I'm not going to tell you anything about this. I just want you to watch this." And we're like, "What is this?" And it took me like 10 minutes. And I'm like, "Is this a documentary?" I didn't know what I was watching. It took a while. And then by the end, we were all wrapping, scarves around our heads and dancing around with flags. I mean, it became a thing. And that we still say, my friend Ron and I, when we're in a crowd, we're trying to find each other, we say, "Yoo-hoo, Edie." I mean, it doesn't leave. And I own it. I own a documentary about it. I
love it. You own a documentary about the documentary.
About the documentary. And then about a few years ago, I was at a bookstore in Long Island, and I saw this program, and it's Grey Gardens, and it's now playing at the Paris Theater, which was a theater in New York City. And it was like $3. I'm like, fuck it, I'll get it. And I take it home, and then inside there were 2 fanzines for Grey Gardens that were made in the 90s.
That's amazing.
And then all these original newspaper clips from the 70s. So someone even weirder than me. It was like it was created just for me. That person time traveled and put it there for me. It was I just love it. So I'm always curious, like when I talk to people, I meet fellow people, Grey Garden heads,
Yes.
everywhere once in a while. And you just start talking in short talk. You go, "I like the Libra man,"
It is. I just saw it for the first time last year. So this rewatch was my second watch. I have my feelings like kind of. So let me talk about the first time I watched it. So the first time I watched it, it started. I knew of it because it's pretty famous. Like if you guys don't know what it's about, it's like Big Edie and Little Edie Bouvier Beale. They are the aunt and first cousin of Jackie O. And they used to be these like socialites, and now they're just these kind of eccentric, reclusive people that live in this very rundown, huge estate. It's like a huge thing. It's like 28-room house on Long Island, right?
And in the Hamptons, East Hampton.
Yeah, it was a beautiful, beautiful house. And now they're just kind of, the house is super run down. Like the walls are falling apart. It's got raccoons in the walls and in the attic. There's like fleas everywhere. There's like a million cats. And they're just very unusual people, like in the way they talk to each other and the way they talk to other people. And I had never seen it, but I knew of it. So I watched it. And at first I was very like, oh, these people are not well. And I was worried that the documentary was
making fun of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like the first maybe like 20 minutes, I was like, I'm uncomfortable. Like, I get that like, oh, my hands are sweaty. This is making me nervous. Like, I don't want to laugh at people who are unwell. But I actually think the movie has a lot of affection for them.
Absolutely.
I don't think it's making fun of them at all. I think it's just showing what they are like. And I think that the two brothers that filmed it, they clearly have an affection for them. They like them.
So the Maisels, yeah, they've had several documentaries over the years. A big one for them was GimMe Shelter, which was at Altamont, the Rolling Stones
Mm-hmm.
concert, where a man was stabbed to death, Meredith Hunter, and they were looking for their next project, and it was going to be about Jackie's sister. Sorry,
Oh yeah, what was her name? When,
God,
but it was going to be about like the Bouvier family, right?
right, right, but it was mainly about Jacqueline Kennedy's sister,
Jacqueline
and
Bisset.
yeah, that I'd watch that movie
Yeah, I
too. So,
totally would.
but they were always in competition with one another, like who was the thinner, who was the prettier one, who was the more successful one. Like that's something they had, this tension between them. And so it was a big deal that her sister was going to get this documentary made about her, and the Maisels would come out to the Hamptons and hang out. And somebody took Peter Beard, the photographer that just died.
Mm-hmm.
He took them aside and said, "You have to meet the sisters over here. You have to meet the mother and sister, Big Edie and Little Edie. They're your story." And so they would go over and meet with them. And it took a couple of years to make it happen. And then they eventually just started filming it. And then what happened was that their house fell apart because a lot of reasons. They ran out of money. They came from money. The father left. The mother had a little bit of money from him, but then the mother got sick and called Edie back to take care of her. And you're never quite sure what the deal was. Was the
Yeah.
mother taking care of Edie, or Edie really taking care of her mother? Was it?
Yeah.
You never were quite sure about that. And then their house started falling apart. And now Edie had two sons as well, but either they didn't have the money or they just wanted the house to fall apart and forget about it because they wouldn't contribute. So then Jackie Kennedy had to pay money to help, just enough to like put in enough so that they had working toilets and things like that.
Yeah.
Like it was that bad. And then this movie came out, and it was like this big embarrassment
Mm-hmm.
for the Bouviers. But Edie, they always thought they were more famous and more interesting than them, and they're right. And they're just like you said, they're these two eccentric women. When you meet little Edie, she has a scarf wrapped around her head, and you're never
Mm-hmm.
quite sure what's underneath. I mean, you're pretty much sure she's bald,
Right.
but you don't know what the deal is. But then she's wearing skirts wrapped around her waist, and then she ties them together. She's wearing sweaters wrapped around her waist to make a skirt because she gained so much weight that she didn't have any clothes. So she was very clever. Like she
Yeah.
she expanded. So she just bought stuff to stretch out.
That's
And
so funny. That was going to be one of my questions for you. Like,
yeah,
because, and you're my expert, I feel like they are almost never wearing their clothes. Like they're constantly like wrapping.
taking off their clothes.
Well, they're constantly like wrapping their clothes around themselves. They're pinning them or tying them. Like I couldn't figure out like what the deal was. I was like, was it that these were their old clothes that are really beautiful and they're kind of still holding on to that past, so they're still wearing it like the only way they can? Or is it
It's a combination.
yeah.
So Lee Radziwill, that's the person I'm thinking of. I was driving me crazy. I had to look it up myself. They did have some money, but then they lost it. And then they had some beautiful clothes, but they both gained weight because they weren't getting much exercise because they
Mhm.
kind of put themselves in one room. They live in a room together,
Yeah,
and
it's
they
so
cook in that
weird.
room. They cook corn in the
Yeah.
room.
That's my husband's favorite scene.
Oh my God.
It's his favorite. He brings it up every once in a while. He's like, "You want some bedside corn?" Like
And yeah, no, I get it. But they eat a lot of starches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Eat cheaper food because if you don't have a lot of money, and
Right.
so they both gained weight, so they kind of grew out of their clothes. So the mother kind of puts hats on her head and wears moo kind of things,
Mhm.
stretchy things, or just covers her breasts, and that's about it.
Right.
Whereas Edie wears things snugger to try to make herself look slimmer. They're taking two different ways
Mhm.
with it. And then like you're like, who are these wackos? And then you kind of like you see them, and then you go into their history, and then you realize like Big Edie was
Oh my
beautiful,
gosh, both of them were so beautiful.
breathtaking, like beyond pale. She was her brother was Jackie Kennedy's father, and that's where their money came from. And then they're the Bouviers, and then she married a man, Phelan Beale, and they lived in New York City on like 68th Street. And then they were in the Blue Books, and then little Edie came along. Little Edie, beautiful
Mhm.
girl, just like her mother, very spirited. And the mother and the daughter both were into singing. And the mother, so the parents had this Grey Gardens house in Long Island. The father would stay in the city, and some businessman. And what happened is that Big Edie would have concerts at her house. So she had a series of men who would play the piano, and had affairs with them, or they were gay. Like there's all these different men in her life. She was basically a hippie,
Right.
in like the 20s and 30s. And then the father leaves them, and he gets a Mexican divorce. It's a whole scandal.
Right.
And then in the 50s, little Edie was in New York City she was modeling, and she was trying to do other things. And then the mother had some sort of eye problem and said, you need to come home and take care of me. And then when we meet them, it's 1972 or 3 in Long Island.
Mm-hmm. So it's like 20 years later.
Right. And Edie, by the way, they're both still beautiful women. I mean, you look at them and their faces are incredible. And I think, but little Edie, like I said, she wears these pot de soie pumps, dyeable shoes with stockings. She bursts into song every once in a while, and she flirts with the Maisels. She loves Albert. She has a big crush on him. There's a guy named Jerry who's like a handyman who hangs out with them.
What is the deal with Jerry?
Jerry became a cab driver, I think, in Long Island after that.
She calls him the Marble Fawn.
The Marble Fawn, which is from Nathaniel Hawthorne, which I don't know what that. I mean, I know who he is, but I don't know what that is. I'm not an expert, by the way. So I know Sonia's making me sound like an expert. I'm not an expert, but he's this strange guy that lives, and takes care of little things in the neighborhood. They have a guy that comes in and tries. The thing with Grey Gardens is it was this beautiful home.
Oh my gosh, it was gorgeous.
It was insane. And then they hire a guy, $24 to clip their hedges and stuff. And it's a mess. It's like they can't put any real money into it. But that's all the people they really have that come regularly. You never see the sons.
Yeah.
The phone rings occasionally, but only on birthdays you get the feeling. The Bouviers never come by. And then one day their neighbors come by because it's Big Edie's birthday, and they bring a beautiful cake. And these people come into the kitchen. You could see the dust.
Oh my gosh.
On the kitchen counters. And little Edie walks around and takes out pieces of newspaper, puts it on their chairs.
You're going to have to sit on the paper. It's so weird.
It's so weird. And these people, boy, are they good sports about it.
They are. I was thinking the same thing. I know people who are like hoarders, basically, and you go to their home and you don't want to be judgy because
that's rude. No one's perfect.
Yeah, we all have our things, and some people are hoarders, and some people are eccentric reclusives, like like them, and they are such good sports. They sit on the paper. They eat the weird sandwiches that she serves.
Serving.
Yeah, and
they drink They drink wine out of wax cups. Those little wax cup Dixie cups.
Yeah, and you could tell, like, it seems like the Edies are happy that they're there.
Right. And they're happy to have the company.
Yeah, and then they stay an appropriate amount of time, and then they leave. And I was fascinated, like, do they see, like, is it getting worse? Is it always like that? Is it just, no, that's
What's the progression?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, are they thinking like, gosh, 10 years ago it wasn't this bad and now it's even worse? Or will it be even worse next year? I don't know. I just immediately was wondering what these people must be thinking.
And on the one hand, you're like, well, they've created this world that makes them happy, or that's functional. And at the same time, though, little Edie complains about wanting to move to the city. She doesn't want to spend I can't imagine spending a winter there. I'm sure there's no heat.
Oh my gosh, it's so miserable, probably.
I'm sure they have no TV. They have nothing to amuse themselves. So I don't know how they handled it, but they kind of live in this world of fantasy. And little Edie always talks about the men that she could have married, the Gettys and all these different men that she said were going to propose to her, and her mother stopped them, and her mother's, it's like, I never stopped you from anything. A man can never land Edie.
Yeah, we don't know, like, what the real story there is, though. Like,
right.
Because she is, like, throughout the movie, throughout the documentary, there's this, like, blaming. Like, little
Mm-hmm.
Edie's like, I gave up everything basically. I left New York and came home here to take care of you. And I've never been able to get married, or I can't even leave because no one will take care of you. And it's your fault. And every man that came away, you scared him away, and all these things. And I'm like, is that true? Or is it not even remotely true? I don't know.
Right. I don't know because the mother says things every once in a while, like, Edie's complaining. She goes, "Well, that's what you get when you're being supported all the time." Like, she kind of has her under her thumb, but at the same time, they love each other and
They
they
do.
understand each other and they speak the same language,
Mm-hmm.
that mid accent, that mid Atlantic accents that they talk to one another, and they listen to Dr. Norman Vincent Peale together on bed.
I don't know what that is. What is it? Just it's a priest, a reverend. What? Who is that?
Yeah. Oh, you don't know that?
No.
He was like, yeah, oh, let me look him up. He was an inspirational person, and he had a radio show, and he had a lot of quotes that people would quote, and he was just like this wise person trying to teach people how to better themselves, and it
Mm.
was religious, but it was also, it
Like
was very sad.
yeah, uh like a speaker that an inspirational speaker.
There you go. There you go. Yeah,
Got
he
it.
has a lot of books, like self-help books from the time
Got
people
it.
like quoted him. That was his thing. So that's a thing they listen to together on the radio. They sing a lot of songs back and forth to one another. Sometimes they're yelling back and forth to one
Mm-hmm.
another while they're singing. And there's times when Edie gets sick of her mother and she just kind of takes off and ignores her mother and
Yeah.
does her own thing. And there's a scene I love is when she's lying by the ocean and then she just starts swimming and it looks beautiful. Like
Yeah.
they have a great house. I mean, it's terrible, but it's
Yeah.
great.
The house is it's fucking crazy. Like
It's insane.
it's a you know that I mean, you can look it up, and you sent me like a really great video with like the before and afters and things
Hmm.
like that. And it was a beautiful home, like just such a beautiful home. And eventually, like somebody else bought it and cleaned it up, and it's gorgeous. But like how they live in the house was fascinating to me. Like they're down to like it's a 28-room mansion. They're living in like 2 rooms, pretty much.
Like the bedroom and the kitchen, you never see the bathroom. I wonder what that situation is.
Yeah, I don't know if
You
I
know
want
it
to know.
smells.
Yeah.
You know it smells. I mean, they have raccoons in the walls.
Yeah, so there's raccoons in the wall. There's like big Edie's in her bed, and it's just the most disgusting mattress you've ever seen. It's covered
Hmm.
in stuff, like all of her stuff and newspapers, and there's like empty cans of cat food everywhere. And there's like a scene where little Edie goes up to the attic and she just dumps a loaf of bread out to like feed the raccoons.
Yep.
And I think earlier in the movie she denied that she was feeding the raccoons. Am I remembering
Yes,
that
she
correct?
lies about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm not feeding them. And then later she's up there like dumping out like a huge loaf of Wonder Bread and like a whole box of cat food, like feeding the raccoons. There's it's
It's bananas.
it's bananas, and I don't know, like does it not I know it does, it clearly doesn't bother them that the place, like it's almost like they don't see it.
They don't see it. I
Like
don't think.
Edie's
Yeah.
still like I'm redecorating this room, and I'm going to put this poster up here, and I'm going to hang a bird cage here, and
The masks on the wall.
yeah, the masks on the wall. Like she's still like it's like they're so in their own heads
Hmm.
that they don't see like what's going on around them. They don't see that the house is it's dangerous. Like they could catch something, they could fall through the floors, they don't
Yeah.
even see it. It's so interesting.
Well, I was going back to that scene where she's by the water and she's in a bathing suit and she's sunbathing and and sometimes she doesn't wear makeup, so you realize she has no hair, like she
Yeah.
doesn't have eyebrows or anything. And then she just starts swimming in the ocean, and the ocean looks so beautiful
Mhm.
and peaceful, and she swims beautifully, like
She
she's had
does.
lessons. Yeah. And it's just like the contrast of like what they grew up with
Mhm.
and what their lives turned into, and then how they manage that in their heads and how they present themselves is fascinating.
Yeah. I agree.
And Yeah, and Ben Bradley bought the place.
Oh, that's right. Ben Brett.
Washington Post
Yes.
editor. He and Sally Quinn, and they bought it. So, Mama, spoiler, Mother Edie, Big Edie dies in 1977, and Little Edie has a cabaret show in New York, which I would kill to see. That's a cabaret show, which I definitely want to check out.
Mm-hmm.
But she stays there a couple of years, and then she sold it to Ben Bradley, but said you can't tear it down. You have to keep the structure the way it is. And they did. They basically, I mean, they had to redo everything, but they kept it looking much like it was when it was first opened. And you know who John Hodgman is?
Yes.
He, on his podcast, I listened once, he was at a party in the Hamptons, and he was in the house, and he's like, this place looks familiar. I can't figure it out. And then he looks at the piece of china, and it had the letters EB on it. He was at the Bradley house where that was like Edie Bouvier's. Yeah.
Would you just freak out?
Oh, I would get the chills. I would totally. He said I was looking out the window, and the view looked familiar. I couldn't understand what it was, and then that was it.
This movie has such a cult following.
Yes.
What, in particular with the gay community?
Yeah, well, you think about somebody who's like marginalized and eccentric, and like Little Edie, you know, she could have turned out any which way, and she's just kind of letting her freak flag fly and being herself. Yeah. And she kind of finds her way that way. You know, she was like the standard beautiful socialite, and then she just became, you know, in her 50s, just became herself. Like that sweater wrapped around her head is just genius. It's just, you know, the skirts created with other outfits, you know, MacGyver together to, you know, with like I said, the Potoswa pumps and the hosiery and everything. I mean, just all, it kind of works. It's crazy, but it works.
So do you think she dresses like that all the time, or was she dressing up because they were filming a documentary and she's like, and I want to look nice because we're filming?
I think it's the latter. I think she wore, I wonder what, my question is, what do they look like in the winter? Because there's summer wear, I get it, because I'm sure it's hotter than hell. I'm sure they don't have air conditioning. So they're just wearing, what they can. But I wonder, like, in the snowy winter, what on earth they would wear.
Right. I watched.
Would they go out?
Yeah, no. They must not. Oh, God, it must be so miserable in that house during the winter. I don't even know how they survive. I don't know how they survive a winter there.
They did for like 25 years. So I forgot to say, Bradley buys the house, and he promises not to do that. And he gives her like $500,000, which is a lot of money. And then Little Edie lived in Montreal for a little while, and then she settled in Florida, and she loved Florida. And that's where she lived until like, she lived to be like 84. Like they both had longevity in their genes. And I don't like, when did they go to the doctor? I mean, there's lots of little questions I have for them, like how they did things. But they figured it out in this whole crazy thing.
They, if they would have made like a really good reality show, like an Osbournes style reality show, because I have so many questions. Like I would have watched every episode. I would have been like, I can't wait till next week to see like what they're going to do. Like, but you know, that the Osbourne reality show things were not a thing at the time, unfortunately. But they were like the Osbournes before the Osbournes. I watched this on the Criterion channel, and with it came these like little like added bonus things. And I was telling you this before we started recording. They had these interviews with a couple of fashion designers. One was John Bartlett, and another one was Todd Oldham. Do you remember him?
Yes, of course.
I remember him from like, he was on like MTV stuff all the time. That's
House of Style.
Yeah, that's how I know him. But they interviewed both of them about Little Edie's style. And it was so interesting that she had such an influence on so many designers, and both of them would talk about like her individuality and like her playful style. Like that she was like, fuck it, like I'll wear a skirt, like put it on like upside down or whatever, like whatever way made it fit. Like she didn't care. But she always wore like colors that looked great on her. And just how she had no rules. Like they said they really respected that and they loved her. And both of them have like fashion lines that they put out and fashion shoots that they did that were 100% like influenced by Little Edie. Like you see the pictures and you're like, holy shit, that's like could be a scene out of Grey Gardens. Like,
Yeah.
it's so interesting. Like, she's so interesting.
Well, she's so quirky and independent
Mm-hmm.
but vulnerable. You see a lot of her vulnerability too. Like she says she wants to go back to New York and she wonders if she should have married what's his who's it's, which
Mm-hmm.
Getty, that whatever it was, and she has a lot of regrets, but at the same time she seems like she's having fun
Yeah.
and she's making the most of it. I love it when she dances.
That's
That
so famous.
that's oh my god. And like you said, yeah, you're watching them and you're like, is this okay for me to do it? But years later in the documentary I have about the documentary, the Maisels, Albert called her and he has just a telephone call with her and he was asking her about the movie and she loved it. She and her mother loved it. They
Mm-hmm.
loved the premiere. They loved the attention. She says, I've only met nice people since then. Like people, you feel protective of Edie once you
Mm-hmm.
meet her, don't you? Like it
Yeah.
just, if somebody made fun of her, I would be so upset.
Yeah. Same. Like,
You know?
you really care about them. And I think that's
Yeah.
ultimately what I took away even the second time watching it was this is not they're not being made fun of here. Like the
Right.
documentary has a lot of affection for them and I think by the end you have a lot of affection for them
Hmm.
and I like also what it has to say about like mother and daughter relationships. I
Hmm.
think it's interesting to me that the sons are clearly not around. I don't know if that's one of them that called on Big Edie's birthday. Um, it's I don't want to say like stereotype brothers and sisters and things, but it is kind of sisterly to be the or daughterly to take on that kind of caretaker role.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I it just has so much to say about like also just the way that mothers and daughters can talk to each other and the little things that they can say to each other that hurts the other. Like they have a
Hmm.
lot of power over each other. But then they love each other and they forgive each other quickly.
Yeah.
There's a
Well,
scene where Edie's singing and Big Edie is like, "Stop it! You're doing it wrong!" And like she's just screeching at her. She's so mad. But then like 5 seconds later, they're over it and singing together. And I don't know. It just says a lot about how mothers and daughters can interact.
you can't believe that, like, everything they had, they were so wealthy, and then they're just in this little room together. And they're cooking in the room and they're
Mm-hmm.
eating in the room and they have cats just going in and out of the room
Yeah,
and Jerry's in and out of the room having corn with them.
it's so weird. That scene is so weird.
It's so weird, but he's so stoned. I mean, he's just like
He must be
completely.
right.
Yes, yeah, has
Like
to be.
I think you're right when you said like Big Edie was like a hippie before there were hippies because
Yeah.
kind of there's like a commune vibe about like how people kind of wander in and out of their lives, like that they would have someone like Jerry who's there for a while and then he isn't there anymore. I'm sure there were people before Jerry and after Jerry
Yep.
that just kind of they adopt, I guess, for a little while,
Yeah, but
like
it's
one of their
bohemian.
cats.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the cats, some of the cats look so thin. I was like, are you okay?
Poor kitties.
Poor kitties. I mean, I don't know. There's so many rooms in that house, but that always gets to me is at one point I'm like, I bet it smells. I bet I would be sneezing
Oh my
nonstop.
gosh, for sure.
My allergies would go through the roof. Um, but I would find them utterly fascinating. I would
Hmm.
find them just completely captivating. They didn't realize they were getting a staunch character.
I was gonna
S
ask you
T A U N C H.
what is your favorite quote? She is so quotable.
She everything. Oh my god. I love. It's so hard to tell between the fine line between the present and the past. I
Yeah.
find that very difficult, and I'm like, that's really telling. Like that's almost like in the first part of the movie.
Hmm.
And damn if they don't. Yeah, that's like how they live their whole lives.
Yeah. I like when she says, "You can't have your cake and eat it too in life." She also says something about like her days of pleasing men or there's something about men. God, I should have wrote it down exactly that I just really liked where she, because I think she thinks Jerry is interested in her
Yes, she
romantically.
thinks. Yes, she does. She does.
Yeah. It's very funny. I really, really like her. Like you said,
Yeah.
I really care about them when it's over.
Yeah, I don't laugh at them. I care about them. And if somebody, like I said, if somebody were to make fun of them, I would, if I overheard at a Hamptons party somebody making fun of them, I'd punch them.
I would
I would just,
consider it a character flaw for sure.
I would, huge character flaw. Yeah. Yeah. Once you get into their world, you're sort of fascinated by it.
Do you think they're like a precursor to all the reality shows that you love so much now, like the Real Housewives and
Oh yeah.
things like that?
Yeah. I mean, it's not nearly as poignant, but you see
Yeah.
elements of it, like in New York, because a couple of them are widows and they're grasping to this fame in their 50s, but they're living in their heads like they're still in their 20s and 30s when they were really young, and it's a lot of that same shit is still there. Yeah.
And they're Big Edie and Little Edie, they're dealing with the things that we all deal with. They're just dealing with it differently. Like we all go through, like, did I live my life the way I wanted to? Did I make the right choices? Am I still making the right choices? Like they're doing all those things. They just also happen to be doing it in a 28-room house that they've let go to shit. And
it's unbelievable.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot to love about this and so much to relate to. And I think if y'all haven't seen it, you should definitely see it. And we haven't spoiled anything here. Like you could know everything about it and rewatch it and still get something else. There's so much to it.
I get different things all the time. I focus on something else or someone else, or I just notice something that I didn't notice before. And it's only 90 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, when it's over, I'm like, oh, it's done. I was kind of like, really could have watched more.
Yeah. And then there's the, like, I guess it's like, I don't want to say a sequel. It's more like a companion piece, the Beals of Grey Gardens, which you said you own, and I will be watching because I want to see more. I want to see more outfits.
What the outfits, and it just sort of gives you more of a background on how it all came together and what it was like. And there was also the HBO movie that you watched recently.
Yeah, I actually didn't finish it because I just not because
wasn't good.
No, it's fine, and I think they are real. It was more of a timing issue. Like I didn't have time to finish it, but I think that Jessica Lange and Drew Barrymore are really good. I think I got a little bit more than halfway through it. I think they're both really good in it. It definitely has it's taken the Little Edie side in that her mother kind of controlled her and made her come back.
Right. I think it tries to tell the backstory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think they're really good in it. And I actually thought Jessica Lange won all the awards, but I did think that Drew Barrymore was really good in that part. You could see it's, once again, like Drew Barrymore's not making fun of Little Edie.
No.
She clearly has like a lot of affection for her. She really tries to get that accent because it's very specific.
Yes.
And the clothes are really on point. I'm a big Drew Barrymore fan, and I liked what I saw. I actually will finish it. I didn't get to finish it yet, but I know how it ends.
Yeah, no, you know how it ends. And then I saw the Broadway play.
Who was in the Broadway play when you saw it?
I'm looking it up right now. It was Mary Louise Wilson was Edie Bouvier. Let me see. Yeah, the older Big Edie, and then Little Edie was Christine Ebersole.
Oh yeah, I know her. Okay.
Yeah, and then Christine Ebersole played her. So they in the play, it's the same. They go back and forth. So they go back to 1941, then they go to 1973, and so you have little Sarah Hyland played Jackie Bouvier. She's from Family Matters.
Okay.
Is that the show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they go back and forth, and the guy that plays Joe Patrick Kennedy Jr., he plays Jerry in 1973. So like,
Okay.
you know, in plays they use the same actor,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they play different parts. That's what he did.
Yeah.
But I remember, yeah, it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. It only did like 300 performances, which I guess is okay, but I mean, I loved it. But like me and a bunch of geeks were just like, oh my God, they made something just for us.
I love that feeling though. I love it when you watch something and you're like, they made this just for me. It's the best
Yeah.
feeling.
Well, and it's got rabbit holes on top of the rabbit holes. Like once you're done watching it, you're going to go on to Wikipedia and you're going to look these women up. Yep.
I totally did.
And you're going to look at the pictures of them. You're like, I'm telling you, they were breathtaking. They were so beautiful, these women.
They were, absolutely. Did you watch the documentary Now spoof of it?
Yes. I watched it last night. You reminded me. It's only 20 minutes. It's on Netflix.
Documentary Now is the like Fred Armisen, Bill Hader series in which they do little spoofs of different documentaries, and they did one about Grey Gardens and it's called Sandy Passage.
And Bill Hader's wearing sweatpants on his head to be the scarf. And it's like there's in that one, there's like a Jerry that keeps disappearing.
Yes.
Because they go to the basement. But there's a scene where it's like Bill Hader, he's feeding the cats and he just throws a piece of bologna at the fridge. There's a cat on top of the fridge.
I laughed out loud.
I cracked up so hard.
The series is really good. My husband and I, for a while, were watching documentaries, and then we'd watch the Documentary Now episode about it after.
Oh, that's great.
And I love, they get little details. They pay attention to little details that you will definitely catch, you know, with like I don't think his name's not Jerry in the spoof. It's like Terry or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But he's wearing like Jerry in the documentary is wearing a sweatshirt from like some sort of like newspaper.
Newsday. It's a Long Island newspaper.
Newsday. And then Terry in the spoof is wearing one that says like news, you know, or something like that. But that it also takes like a really crazy turn at the end. But you can tell, like, once again, these are done with like such affection for the originals.
Absolutely.
And Bill Hader's really, really funny as I think they're Big Vivi and Little Vivi.
Little Vivi.
Yeah.
Fred Armisen making the corn in the bedroom.
It's pretty funny. I really enjoyed it. Please, go on Netflix and actually watch Grey Gardens first if you haven't seen it, because you'll appreciate it more.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear some of the movies that came out in 1975?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Number 10 was The Hindenburg.
Yep, I remember.
I don't think I've seen that one.
It's your typical disaster movie.
Okay.
I was really into them for a while.
Yeah, I actually might watch it then. Number 9 was The Apple Dumpling Gang.
I saw it.
Yeah, I definitely saw that. Number 8 is Tommy.
Oh, yeah.
Number 7 is Funny Lady.
Oh my God, yes. My mother had the soundtrack.
Of course.
Yeah.
Number 6 is 3 Days of the Condor.
I never saw that one.
I've never seen it either, and people really like it.
People rave about it.
I should definitely watch it. I haven't seen this next one either. Number 5 is Shampoo.
Oh, yeah. It's very 70s.
Yeah. I really should. I should see it.
Yeah, you should see it, definitely, but it's very 70s.
I have a feeling it's not going to age well.
No.
Number 4 is Dog Day Afternoon.
Which I love.
Yeah, it's a good one. Number 3, Return of the Pink Panther.
Oh, God, those movies.
People who love them, love them. Let me just say
my
that.
parents love them. Yeah. I'm like, good for you.
Yeah, my husband thinks the Pink Panther movies are really funny, and I was like, okay. Number 2 is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, that was a big movie.
Yeah, and then number 1 is probably one of the best movies of all time. It's Jaws.
I've heard of it.
I've heard of that one. Jaws is amazing.
Do you want to hear some of the top songs of 1975?
Yeah, I do.
This is so exciting because we're normally like late 80s, early 90s. We've talked about all the music. Like, this is so different.
Mm-hmm.
So these are just some of my favorites. Glenn Campbell, Rhinestone Cowboy.
Oh, my God. I loved that song, like a rhinestone
Stone
cowboy.
Cowboy.
I was into it.
Earth, Wind and Fire, Shining Star. Great song.
That's like a perfect song.
Yeah, it is. 10cc, I'm Not in Love.
I love that song so much.
Me too. Fucking, it's hypnotic.
It is.
The Bee Gees, Jive Talkin'.
My
Great song.
gosh. I want a playlist now of all these songs.
America, I love this song. It's Sister Golden Hair by America. It's like the most 70s AC.
Oh, yes.
Easygoing, easy listening song ever. I fucking love it. David Bowie, Fame.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Elton John, Philadelphia Freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And Roxy Music, Love is the Drug.
Come on, all of those.
All of them. And you'd hear them all on the same station.
Yeah.
Because those were all like top 40 hits.
And what a mix.
Isn't it incredible?
It is incredible. I just did, at my job, we have a radio, like a lunch hour, like a radio lunch hour, and we all take turns playing music. And I just, on Friday, did one, and it was all classic R&B, funk, soul, and it was all like Earth, Wind and Fire, the Commodores, Sly and the Family Stone. It's the best. Like, the music was the best back in the day.
Oh, it's so good.
I feel old. I'm going to go make some bedside corn. What else are you dorking out about, Margo?
I've been dorking out about a movie that's on HBO right now. It was directed by Alex Winter. He was either Bill or Ted, and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Bill.
He's okay. I'm sorry.
No. I didn't mean to make that sound judgy. I just meant like he is Bill.
It's called Showbiz Kids, and he interviews a whole bunch of actors that were showbiz actors. You know, like Mara Hobal. God, I'm blanking on Will Wheaton's in there.
Oh my gosh, I want to watch this. I'm writing it
down. Yeah. Todd Bridges is there. I'm trying to think. Who's the girl from 13? Rachel.
Evan
Rachel Wood.
Yeah.
She's in there. And it's just what it's like to be a child star and then try to be an adult, and like the tough transition it is, and what it's like to be a child actor on a set. And it's really, really interesting. And it's not totally depressing, but it is kind of sad what happens to some of the kids, but some of the kids turn out fine. But I just found it super interesting, and it's on HBO right now.
Is it
Showbiz
new?
Kids?
Or did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was released on HBO Max, which like nobody can get.
Yeah.
It's not on Roku or anything, but it's now on regular HBO streaming, so you can get it on HBO. Yeah.
All right, writing it down. I will love that.
Yeah.
So this has been big news in our house. My son has been watching, which means we're all watching now, Floor is Lava on Netflix. Have you seen the previews for this?
No.
Okay, it's like a game show, basically, and the floor is lava. Do you ever play that when you were a kid?
No, what is that?
Okay, so floor is lava when you're a kid. You jump around from like furniture to furniture, and you're like, you can't touch the ground, it's hot lava. Can't touch it. And that was like a thing.
Okay.
So somebody has turned it into like kind of like an obstacle course, and it's on Netflix now, and it's just called Floor is Lava, and the floor is like this orange water that like bubbles, and you know, they try to kind of make it look like lava, but it's not really. And they set up these really complicated obstacle courses where like you have to like jump from like the stairs to the bed, and the bed to a chair, and then like you're on like kind of a pyramid, and you have to take a painting and use it as a bridge to get over. And it's teams of 3, and it's usually like it'll be like a mom and her 2 kids, and when I say kids, I mean they're 18. All of them are adults, like 18 and up, which I was like, God, it would be fun to watch it with like kids, because it's like a kid thing. I don't know why it's not that. Anyway, there's like, you know, be like a group of like 3 teachers who want, and you just win like $10,000 if you win. It's not like a shit ton of money, but it's really silly. And my son loves it. He loves it. He watched.
Good for him.
He's so into it, and I keep thinking it's kind of a missed opportunity that they don't have kids playing it too. So maybe if they do a second season, they would add kids. But my husband and I have been watching it with him, and what's funny is how we get kind of sucked in, and then we kind of just you start rooting against people. You're like, that person's obnoxious. I hope they fall in the lava. Like,
I get like that with Family Feud.
yeah, but it reminds me of those kind of they're the kind of shows that used to be on prime time that you could watch like with the whole family, you know. I mean, game shows used to be kind of prime time, or even like 7 o'clock or 7:30. Like, you love Family Feud. Like,
Yeah,
it's one of
I
those
like game
things
shows.
like the whole family could watch it.
Yeah, that was the whole point.
Yeah, I think Flora's Lava is kind of like it's stupid as fuck. By the way, it's stupid. I get it. Like, and the prize, like I said, is $10,000, but it's very entertaining, and my son loves it. So if you have kids that are like 10 and under, they'd probably be super into it. And you can root against people and hope they fall in the lava. So that's the other thing.
I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah. We've also been watching Taste the Nation on Hulu.
Isn't that great?
And it's so good with
Yeah,
Padma. Yeah, with Padma from Top Chef. I really like her. Like, I follow her on Twitter. I think she's incredibly smart and interesting. She's also insanely beautiful.
She looks great. She's so beautiful. Like, I don't know like how people talk when they're talking to her.
Yeah.
Because I would just stare at her because I just find her like an alien. She's so pretty. Yeah. But I love the theme.
Yeah.
That they're going to different towns where there's an immigrant population and finding out what are their dishes? What do they cook when they're there? What's it all about? Which is like because America is a melting pot, and it's really nice to see it come together the way she does it.
We really, really enjoyed it. It's kind of Anthony Bourdain light.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his shows were always like an hour, and I don't know, he's a little bit more intense, you know.
Oh, yeah, you think?
Just a little. She's very playful, and she's very friendly, and we really, really enjoyed it. They're really, really good, and like they're like really short. They're under 30 minutes, and you do leave like kind of hungry.
You leave super hungry, but also makes you want to travel, which is kind of like, oh,
yeah,
I can't do that right now. But yeah, I never wanted to visit Milwaukee more than when I saw her show. I'm like, damn, I gotta go get some Franks and Beans.
But it's also so interesting because there's so much food that you think is super American, and it's like, well, yeah, because somebody brought it here from somewhere else. Like, it's kind of the show we need right now. Some people in the current administration should really sit down and maybe watch a little Taste the Nation.
I think they should.
Yeah, when they're done being terrible people. Anyway, I wanted to mention that we got a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts.
Woo!
Thank you, Charlotte Liz, for your review. That was so, so nice of you. And I love how you ended it with like, hey, if you don't like podcasts with women's voices or women's opinions, it's not for you. She is right. Listen to Charlotte. We're a little chick heavy here. Where can people find you on the internet, Margo?
You could find me on social media at Brooklyn Fit Chick for Twitter and Instagram. Warning: I post a lot of pictures of my cats on Instagram
because they're the
cutest cats in Brooklyn.
They are.
They're the cutest. And my blog is brooklynfitchick.com.
And you can find both of us at at What a Creep. I almost plugged the show we're on. No, What a Creep is our other show. We have a Patreon page, a private Facebook group, and every week we take turns talking about a creep, and then we end an episode talking about not a creep, someone who's a good person, so you don't think the whole world is a dumpster fire. And it's very, very fun. It doesn't sound like fun, but it is really fun. So please.
And I think we're starting our new season, right?
Yes.
It's coming. Yeah, we're gonna do. Whenever we start a new season, we just do like 2 mini creeps a piece. So we pick 2 mini creeps, and we'll talk about them.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna talk about sports creeps.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. We're having so much fun at What a Creep. So if you like us here, you probably like us there. So go over there and check it out. And you can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on Instagram and Twitter. I mainly post pictures of bread and my dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forgot to mention,
Yes.
Sonia,
Yes.
we have new stickers.
That's right. Oh shit. Duh. Yes, we have new stickers and they're awesome.
They're adorable.
Everybody drink. They're
Yeah.
adorable. They are like holographic kind of is that the right term?
Holographic die cut.
Yeah, holographic die cut. They are fancy and I
So
can't
send us an email.
Yeah, send
Yeah,
us
you're
an
gonna get
email. At dorkingoutshow@gmail.com and we will send you some cool stickers. I can't wait till they get here.
I know. I'm gonna drop them off in the mail for you today.
I'm so excited. And you can find Dorking Out wherever you listen to your podcasts. You're listening right now. And if you give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, we'll give you a shout out. If you give us 1 star, I will not give you a shout out.
And you won't stop us either. So
Yeah, and you won't stop us because we're still going to be talking about movies here.
And we're still gonna be chicks.
And that's true. That's not changing. Sorry, folks. Margo, thanks for talking about Grey Gardens. This was super fun. This was a good pick on your part.
Well, thank you so much. It's perfect, especially you guys in the summer. If you're just looking for like a sleepy little watch, this is perfect for that.
I think so too. And we'll be back next week with an all new episode. And until then, make sure you wash your hands, wear your masks, do social distancing, and we'll be back next week. Bye, friends.